Hello there, and welcome to the Bitcoin Takeover podcast. This is season 13. As you can see behind me, this is very solar punk, super optimistic about the future of Bitcoin. And our guest today is equally optimistic about the future of Bitcoin because he is the bringer of fungibility and one of the biggest privacy advocates that you will find in the Bitcoin space. His name is Nopara73, and he's the inventor of the original Wasabi Wallet. It was all his baby and his vision, and now it has grown into something that's so much bigger. And the reason why I decided to invite him today is to talk about the past and about the future of Wasabi Wallet. So, hi, Nopar, it's really good to have you again. It's been 3 years.
Hello, Vlad Dracula, vampire of Vala here. It's very good to have your audience today.
It's good to have a guest who doesn't think that Dracula comes from Transylvania. Because, we might have a territorial dispute with Transylvania, but not today.
Nah, don't get us started, the Romanian and Hungarian people. Yeah.
So, Wasabi Adam, it started back in 2018. I think that's when you launched the first version, but the development took a long time. And I know that you traveled in cheap hotels in Asia to code the first version. I know that you also co opted Matthew Haywood, who now works at Blockstream and worked on, I think the first version was called Hidden Wallet. And something that I want to ask you about, because you told me all of this in the previous interview that we did 3 years ago, and it's kind of incredible that it has been so long. But something that I want to ask you about is, did you decide to create a privacy wallet for Bitcoin because you saw that Amir Taki's dark wallet has failed and it was such a great disappointment for the community?
Mm. No, not really, but I certainly do recall back in the days the videos that Amir was putting out, and I certainly was listening to a lot of his stuff. So he was a great inspiration. But the idea of Wasabi Wallet came from a different point of view, from the academic point of view, and that's the line of joy market, right? I wanted to work with joy market back in the day, and long story short, I started working on my own wallet, and now here we are. 8 years later, with Wasabi Wallet 2.0. Yeah.
That's kind of insane. And I'm pretty sure that it was a long journey and there was a lot of thankless work that people are never gonna find out about. But it's really cool that one of these open source projects, which started with the best of intentions and tried to keep its ethos intact along the journey, got so big because nowadays I think Wasabi makes a pretty nice monthly revenue from coordinating coin joins.
Well, I can't complain. But yes, it's it's good because there is a way to like go forward into the future. Like there is fuel behind us, so that's something that distinguishes us from all of the open source Bitcoin project. Probably there are others. Those have revenues, and coming from the exact same academic cypherpunk cryptographic subculture that we've been coming from. But I don't have anything in mind right now. So maybe we are actually unique in that we have our own revenue, and we drive our own business. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a pretty unique revenue model because you make a lot of money from coordinating coin joins. I can't think of other Bitcoin wallets like that came before. I can think of stuff like Electrum. Electrum is a super complex and super solid Bitcoin wallet which has all the features packed in, but it has been funded by Thomas Vauquelin entirely from his personal stash. He never
Yeah.
fundraised. I don't think he cares about making money off of it. Pretty sure he develops it just because it's for his own uses, for his own needs.
I mean, Electrum is around since whew, more than 10 years, right? Or maybe 10 years. So,
No, it's longer. I think it was released in 2011 or something, so that makes it 12
yeah.
years old.
Yeah, I even done a research on light wallets, and Electrum was one of the very first of the light wallets. Those came out right before that. Only full nodes were happening. So yeah. Anyway, after 10 years, I assume like he, he either has some huge motivation and really loves what he's doing because he's doing that consistently over 10 years, uh, or he's looking for some model to keep him that actually captures some of the value that he's putting into it. Not quite sure which one. But yeah, Electrum is great. That was my second Bitcoin wallet that I was using properly. Yeah.
What was the first one? Was it Mycelium or something?
Blockchain info.
Oh,
Blockchain
blockchain.info.
info.
But that was back in the day when it was Bitcoin only, and it was before they turned into big shitcoiners. So I guess it was fine in a way.
Yeah, yeah. I can find excuses as well, but that's that's what they were showing me. Now that I recall, I was also using the Bitcoin wallet. Are you familiar with the Bitcoin wallet, Android, the Shieldbuck wallet?
Yeah, I know what it is. I've never used it. I'm
Also,
an Apple iPhone user, as you can see, but
so that was one of the earliest Bitcoin wallet, and it's not working like this anymore. But it only had a single address, right? And it was super simple, right? You always give the exact same address to everyone and the single address, and that's also in the early days I was also using, and in fact that was my very first moment of thinking, oh, there is some privacy problem here because I remember I was trying to sell some Bitcoin or buy some Bitcoin at a Bitcoin ATM, but I wasn't gonna use the Bitcoin ATM. I was just waiting for someone to come and use the Bitcoin ATM so we can make the peer-to-peer trade, right? And then that happened, and we made the peer-to-peer trade. And then the guy was saying, "Oh, look at that! You already did 0.6 Bitcoin, whatever previous transaction." And I was like, "Oh, that's not okay. That's not good. He can see that." Yeah, I knew that he can see that, but it never hit me that's uncomfortable. Yeah.
so that's when you knew that you have to do something about Bitcoin privacy.
Yeah. It's I didn't know, but that was the first spark. Yes,
So what year was this? 2012, 2013 or something?
13, yeah, or 14. I can't recall. Maybe 14. Yeah.
I think blockchain.info at the time also had a single address that you were using. But luckily you discovered Electrum, which is a lot cooler and is basically the power user wallet. If you're using Electrum, you get a better understanding of how Bitcoin works. You see all sorts of information about your transactions, and it's very educational. I guess people should try it more often, but it's not very good at marketing, and it's mostly used by OGs.
Mhm. Yeah, well, it's a good enough niche there, you know.
So, how long did it take you to code the first version of Wasabi? And can you tell us some fun stories about the times when you're writing the code for it?
Oh, sure. It took forever, of course. I mean, this was supposed to be a 2-week project. I just wanted to build a UI on top of Join Market, right? And that can take longer than 2 weeks, and that took so long that even did not even finish that today. So anyhow, as I was learning from by diving into deeper and deeper into this join market, how join market works, what other alternatives are, get on a complete side track with Tumblebit research, and I ended up with Hidden Wallet. That was the first version of Wasabi Wallet. We did it with Matthew Highwood at the end, and 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 I that we released on the testnet on 2017. So that means from 2015 to 2017. That's how long it took to write the first Bitcoin wallet. But I would have probably not get into that if I would know that how much work there is with it. But you know, as you get deeper and deeper into this, you get more and more motivated, and you want to finish all the things, because otherwise the time that you spent on other things just become useless if you give up. And I decided to not do that, and I was just coding, writing a lot of code, a lot, right? Like at one point, I was in the top 100 open source GitHub contributor who put the most amount of commits on GitHub in a year. So that was fun. That was fun. Actually, have you read the article from Andreas, Bitcoin core developer? He wrote an article about his journey into the Bitcoin core development that just went viral recently. Are you familiar with that?
No, but I read the Greg
Okay.
Maxwell one, which is from
Mm.
a few years ago. Basically,
um,
same story, but what's his name? Andreas. What's his last name?
Andreas, something Andreas. I don't recall, but anyhow, he wrote about Bitcoin development, Bitcoin core development from a different perspective. He didn't go into variables and I don't know ifs and whatnot. He actually went into what happened in his mind from a psychological point of view, into how is it to be a Bitcoin core developer? How does it feel? And one very interesting thing that he talked about is that by becoming a Bitcoin core developer, it actually rewired his brain from brain's reward mechanisms. So, and that's very interesting because that's exactly what happened with me in the beginning. Because as I started to contribute on GitHub and solving GitHub issues, writing more and more code and stuff like that, it rewired my brain's reward mechanism as well. And I kind of just realized that I was actually really addicted to open source development at one point. And there are worse things to get addicted to, but 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 anyway, that was something interesting that I noticed. Another interesting thing is how can you keep it fun? And my solution was that, well, software development in itself is not the most fun profession from some point of view. Of course, you can experience some kind of fun there that you cannot experience anywhere else, but don't worry about that. Just at face value. So my idea was that, all right, so what if I do the same thing, I work on the same things on my computer, but I travel all over the world, right? And then I change my environment, and therefore I went to coffee places. At some point, I get to a point where I wake up in a hostel, and I was not sure if I'm going to where I'm going to sleep at night. So I had my morning routine, morning, who knows what time was it, but I went through the morning routine and I'm writing the code and everything. And then I was not sure if I'm going to sleep at night in the same hotel, in a different one, or in another country, right? Like that's how free I was at one point. And well, the 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 tyrannical government lockdowns in response to the coronavirus has ended all this, um, which, which brought me to a different place in life. But that's I guess that's my personal story and some development story there. Yeah.
So, just for the record, the Andreas, whom you mentioned, he wrote an article which is called Getting to Basecamp, a reflection on my first year as a Bitcoin Core developer. And his name on Twitter is just Andreas, but the name of the account is Koululoumos, Koulumos or something like that. But I just wanted the listeners to know what this is about and which article you referenced.
Thank you very much.
And something that I want to ask you about your story and your journey. I mean, I could ask you which countries you visited and in which countries you wrote the code for Wasabi, but something that's spicier and more interesting is what kind of feedback you got from Bitcoin users and developers while you were working on it.
Well, that's an interesting one because I was also not only writing the code, I was also writing something with it. So at the beginning, I started with a lot of code project tutorials because I saw Nicola Doria, who's a very good Bitcoin developer. He was creating code project tutorials, so I created code project tutorials. So that was for programmers, right? Like how to use Bitcoin stuff, the Bitcoin stuff that I wrote. So I got some technical feedback there. Then I moved on to I went to Nicola Doria to Japan and rewrote his book Programming the Blockchain in C#. And well, that book is the Bible of C# Bitcoin developers. So well, a lot more technical feedback. And after that, I started to, as I started to realize that that there is a huge hole in Bitcoin, which is called privacy, fungibility, anonymity problem. Then I started to also clue up to some of the research and write about. I wrote like 4 articles about the Tumblebeat research paper, and I still didn't understand it, right? Like that's how. So I went into research, writing about research, and then writing about all kinds of stuff, and so what were you asking here? What was the user feedback? And so the user feedback came hand in hand with the writing. right? Because they were able to understand the writing when I was writing about the wallet, but obviously not the code. So the conversation was happening in my blog. That was the user feedback early on. Now, after release of Wasabi 1.0, there was a lot of excitement and then enthusiasm and hype. After a while, the the things that we created at that point with 1.0, it was as a multiple people, Luca and Rivero, and more people were joining to me at that point. But 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 it wasn't appreciated anymore as much because as we created it, it became the standard, right? Like that was just normal, that these kinds of super hard things, like you can have privacy in Bitcoin without anyone being able to steal your money. That's so crazy. But it become normal, right? So the very excited early adopter crowd started becoming I don't know, early majority or something like that, and now I think, and now the feedback shifted from wow, how awesome this whole thing that we created here to oh, it's so hard to use and stuff like that. And I can even pinpoint the exact moment when I realized that the main problem with Wasabi Wallet is not the privacy anymore, but the user experience aspect of it. And that was when I went to Peter McCormack's What Bitcoin Did, right? That's his show, and he came at me very hard on the user experience side. That well, it's so hard to use. It is not good enough. No one's gonna change from it to change to it from an exchange and stuff like that. And and I knew that he was like 100% right. In fact, I was completely on the same opinion as him. I was just trying to somehow tell him that, yeah, but you know, like creating those kind of user experiences takes a lot of development time. But certainly from that point on, my focus shifted to user experience because that was really lacking. That was the new bottleneck, and 2.0 came around. That is the one that's fixing the user experience issues, and in fact, I think that the easiest to use wallet in the entire desktop Bitcoin wallet space. So that's something that we are really proud of. Of course, we did not only deliver user experience improvements in 2.0, but also a lot of privacy and cost improvements as well. But I think the user experience was the largest improvement that we made. So that's about the early user feedback in a nutshell.
What about developer feedback? Because I know that the first idea of a CoinJoin, or at least the term for CoinJoin, was posted in 2013 in a Bitcoin Talk thread by Greg Maxwell, and he was the one to describe how a Bitcoin CoinJoin wallet would look like. And I think it was 5 years later, you were granted the bounty. And I think it was Greg Maxwell, Peter Willie, and probably Tamos. I'm not sure, I gotta check. But there was a multi-sig of free Bitcoin Core developers. and two of them had to sign the release of the funds to the first developers who make this happen. And the bounty was split between you and between Join Market. And my curiosity is if you interacted with any of these core developers, what their reactions or impressions were at the time, and if you followed any of their advice or input.
So first of all, you are correct. It was Gregory Maxwell, Peter Woolley, and Timus. Gregory Maxwell is the father of Bitcoin privacy. Peter Woolley is the Chuck Norris of Bitcoin core development, and Timus he's one of his correspondents of Satoshi from the early days and moderator. Well, he owns Bitcoin.org and moderator of the Bitcoin subreddit. But anyhow, yes, it's a 2 of 3 multisig, meaning two have to sign in order for the transaction to happen. This fund has been announced back in the day, very early on, 2013, I believe. And just a week or 2 weeks later, actually, Amir Taki came out with a bare bone coin join software implementation, and Maxwell didn't really wanna give him the money because was not that was just kind of just a proof of concept, right? Like, hey, this can actually be done, but it wasn't a software that will deliver privacy for Bitcoin. I was not actually aware of this grant for pretty late until we released Hidden Wallet on testnet. So Matthew Highwood was one actually who pointed me that, hey, look, there is bounty. It seems like that's exactly what we are doing. So that's pretty cool. We didn't apply for that. If I recall, we didn't apply for that at that time. Only later on, when we launched Wasabi Wallet 1.0, and for a good amount of time, a number of months, our income was very low, like so low. So as people were joining to us with Wasabi Wallet 1.2, I was paying the developers from my own pocket, right? So what that means is that when we launched Wasabi Wallet 1.2 and not everyone started using it all the time, then we had a problem because the months were passing and I was paying more and more developers from my pocket, and my money was running out. So that was the time when we applied for the grant, and unfortunately didn't get an answer from Maxwell, and we were really afraid that the whole thing is gonna like just run out of I'm going to run out of funds, right? And the project is dead if we don't receive those funds. Now, happily, so we didn't get answer from Maxwell, but happily we started to make income, and finally we were able to pay all the developers and stuff like that. So it wasn't a problem, and maybe half a year later, something happened again. I'm not sure who contacted who, but well, I don't want to speculate. You know, Maxwell does not have a good opinion on Samurai Wallet, and nor do I, nor do anyone who's into Bitcoin privacy seriously. But one of the things that I did on the Bitcoin Talk forum under the grant is that some at that point, I was aligning myself with Samurai Wallet publicly, or at least I tried to. In the early days, I tried to actually deliver Wasabi and this technology and all these to Samurai Wallet because well they already had existing users, right? So I don't want to do this whole thing alone. They are working in Java, but whatever, I could learn that easily. So anyhow, I wanted to do this for them, but they were not really responding to my emails later on, and I just went ahead and built my own wallet. So what's my point here is that there was some association with Samurai Wallet, and when I wrote in the thread that I am in no no way associated with Samurai Wallet, like I have no associations with them. That's when the payouts started to happen. I don't know if that was the trigger or something, but that's when they decided that Join Market and Wasabi gets 10 Bitcoin, and 10 Bitcoin actually stays in the fund. So the fund, there is still money there for I don't know, someone for the future. So
Yeah,
that's
for
something to
hidden
keep in
wallet when
mind.
it comes back.
Mhm.
Sorry, dark wallet, not hidden wallet. I mixed them up in my head. I was trying
Mhm.
to tell a joke about it. But it's interesting that you intersected with both Join Market and Samurai along the way. You wanted to work for both. You started out as someone who wanted to build a visual interface for Join Market, developed something of your own, and then you did not want to launch it and take all the risks by yourself, so you pitched your work to Samurai and you never got a response from them, or maybe you got it too
So
late.
that's
And by
not
that time, you had
entirely.
Wasabi, and that's basically the whole story about it. You tried to contribute to other projects, and then you decided to be your own man, even if you were burning money out of your own pocket, trying to pay the operations and developers and hoping that it's gonna catch up, and it did happily. And it's a pretty inspiring story because had you given up earlier because you could say that you're not finding enough funds for this or whatever, you would have never had this privacy wallet. So really, it's a cool story.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Makes you wonder. You think about all the situations when we want to build something, we contact somebody else, and then we realize that we're not getting support, and that's when you have to choose between either giving up on your project because you realize that you don't have the resources to go through with everything that's involved, or else you make a sacrifice and create it for the sake of it and see if there's a market for it. I think I'm not sure if you're into guitars, but there's a similar story with Les Paul and Leo Fender, and they are guitar makers. Nowadays, you can buy guitars that bear their names. You can buy a Fender or you can buy a Les Paul. And at one point, Leo Fender wanted Les Paul to basically provide him his guitar factory to create his own model, but Les Paul wanted to go to Gibson and create his guitar with Gibson and whatever. Nowadays, we have the Gibson Les Paul. But it was this stubbornness to pursue your vision and push it forward until you actually make it happen the way that you want it. In your case, it wasn't the way that you wanted it, it's just the chance. It's the fact that you wanted this to happen no matter what, and in the beginning, you wanted to co opt somebody else. When they were not interested, you just went forward with it. So, thanks for that.
Yeah, well, it's a good summary. One thing I would throw in about the don't think I took too much risk with it, because I was early on listening a lot to Andreas Antonopoulos. He was the Bitcoin guy to listen to back in my time, at least. And he said a lot of time that don't invest your money into Bitcoin, invest your skills into Bitcoin. Okay, so if you invest your skills into Bitcoin, then you don't have a problem. Therefore, what I was thinking is that, it doesn't really matter if I lose all my money or make a lot of money or whatever. What I'm going to still have is that I am still going to know what a UTXO is and how the inputs and the outputs and the witnesses and all this kind of stuff are together. And then even if everything goes wrong, I can just go to a company who is interested in the future, right? Or the companies, and just work for them for a lot of money. So there wasn't that much risk to take, but yeah, there was the opportunity cost of, all right, so am I spending the money on hiring people or on like holding Bitcoin, right? It's not that easy to decide. But ultimately, I couldn't fall too far because I was accumulating a lot of skills here. Yeah.
So the moral of the story is to build stuff to learn for yourself and to pursue your curiosity, and most likely success will come along the way. Because if you try too hard and basically have success as the goal as opposed to acquiring some skills, you're gonna be super disappointed and most likely give up. But
Mm-hmm.
aside from this, did you get any feedback at all from Andreas Antonopoulos? Did you get to tell him this story?
I have never interacted with Andreas in person. I would
No.
love to, like a fun girl.
Are you concerned that your friends, neighbors, or KYC exchange might know how much Bitcoin you own? It is time to take your financial privacy seriously with Wasabi Wallet, a free and open source wallet solution which makes use of mega coin joins to mix your coins with those of hundreds of other strangers. Thanks to the groundbreaking Wasabi engine, your coins get divided in smaller, untraceable units, which grant you great anonymity for both hodling and spending. Download Wasabi Wallet 2.0 today at wasabiwallet.io and take advantage of the mega coin joins. It's free and it's open source, so don't trust, verify. CryptoSteel are innovators in Bitcoin cold storage. Back in 2013, they launched the CryptoSteel cassette, which made it easy to back up your seed phrase, passphrase, or any other form of private key on the sturdy metal which resists water, fire, and earthquakes. Today, CryptoSteel offers the Motherload, an all-in-one box which endows you with everything you need to become financially sovereign. Inside of the Motherload, you get a CryptoSteel capsule and a hardware wallet of your choice. All CryptoSteel products are engineered and manufactured in Poland. Order your CryptoSteel metal backup system today on cryptosteel.com and use promo code BTCTKVR at checkout for a 10% discount on your first order. CryptoSteel, secure your wallet seed phrase. Are you a writer, photographer, musician, or video creator who's trying to generate some revenue? Bumby is the Bitcoin way to monetize your content. It's more censorship resistant than any other platform of its kind, with a low and flat one-time fee of 10%. Bumby is as easy to use as any social media mobile application. Sign up today at Bumby.com and subscribe for free to the Bitcoin Takeover account to get access to some time-exclusive content. If you are monetizing your creativity, why not get paid in Bitcoin for it? Bombi.com, the Bitcoin way to monetize your content. Shopping with your Bitcoin on the internet is easy. Shop&Bit is Europe's biggest Bitcoin store with over 800,000 products, ranging from Bitcoin books, toothpaste, mobile phones, computers, and watches. This month, I bought a Nintendo Game & Watch console with the classic Legend of Zelda, and it arrived in only 5 working days. And if you can't find what you're looking for, Shop&Bit has got you covered. Their concierge service will get you anything and ship it worldwide. Additionally, they also have a travel hacking service that can get you the best deals on all things travel, flights, hotels, and more, for business and for vacations. Bitcoin Takeover listeners get a nice discount, of course. Use code BTCTKVR on your first order for a one-time €5 discount. For more details, go to shopinbit.com. Shop&Bit, Europe's biggest Bitcoin store. Nopara, I think that at this point we should also talk about the stuff that's happening in Bitcoin right now. And we are in the middle of a huge debate which reminds people of Satoshi Dice or counterparty OP return wars times or whatever. It's called ordinals. Basically, it takes every Bitcoin unit and turns it into an NFT or a colored coin or whatever, and also enables people to upload files on the blockchain by exploiting the SegWit discount, basically paying only 25% of what the correct fee would be. And people are uploading rocks, are uploading profile pictures, are uploading bear pepes and whatever. And people from Blockstream are angry at them. And this has some consequences on fungibility, if I'm not mistaken, because there will be some units of Bitcoin that are differentiated from the others. And it leads to a situation where I guess it's a bit comical. I even told people that if they want to get rid of this because it makes them angry, they should just add privacy to Bitcoin, and that's the end of it.
Okay. So, as we talked about, I'm not very familiar with what's going on. But from first glance, well, if they pay for it, then whatever. Now, on the fungibility side, so what is fungibility? Fungibility is indistinguishability, interexchangeability, when two units of currency cannot be distinguished from each other. That's fungibility. And obviously, NFT is non-fungible tokens. Therefore, two tokens should be differentiated from each other, and those are NFTs. Now, you alluded there might be a conflict between actually fungibility work and non-fungibility work, NFT work, but I don't see that happening. I mean, fungibility is, in a very abstract sense, it's just a property. And does this, well, what do we wanna do here in the real world? We wanna act so we solve problems for ourselves and for other people. And if whatever system we are talking about have the property of fungibility, and that's a useful property and that solves problems, then we are very happy. But if the system requires having non-fungibility like NFTs, because, well, let's not go into this whole debate if conceptually NFTs make any sense, but let's just say they do, although I'm not sure, but let's just say they do. So then they require non-fungibility, and that makes the NFT system unique in that sense and solving problems for others. So I don't see a conflict there.
So let me read from the Ordinal website to tell you what this is. It says ordinals are a numbering scheme for satoshis that allow tracking and transferring individual sats. These numbers are called ordinal numbers. Satoshis are numbered in order in which they're mined and transferred from transaction inputs to transaction outputs, first in, first out. Both are numbering scheme, and the number scheme rely on order, and the numbering scheme of the order in which Satoshis are mined, and the transfer scheme on the order transaction inputs and outputs. I guess this last sentence is a bit intricate, but other than this, basically it's taking units of the Bitcoin currency and it's numbering them and says that this one is associated with this file which has been uploaded on the blockchain. And this kind of breaks fungibility to some extent.
Sorry, but are you talking about like they are marking the entire blockchain, or they are just marking a small percentage of the blockchain? Like take one Bitcoin, divide it into many satoshis, and those are being used for this thing, or are they like? Is it like the entire blockchain?
No, it's not. Of course, it's not the entire blockchain. It's just small amounts that they mark
Okay,
with special numbers.
that's okay. I mean, that's colored coins, exact same principle, you know. Colored coins is a non-fungible tokens, right? That's the point there. I don't see a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, well, some people are angry. Others try to respond specifically because others are angry and they put pictures of rocks on the Bitcoin blockchain. And others like, no, you're not supposed to use Bitcoin like this. But they paid the right fee for the transaction. And the mempool is empty. I'm pretty sure that when the mempool gets filled, people are not going to do this anymore because it's too expensive, makes no sense. Right now, it's just stuff to make other people angry. It's like trying to listen to loud music because you know that your parents are going to yell at you.
Yeah, the anonymous Machiavellian troll demons are angry. You know that, Jordan Peterson. Never mind.
I read Machiavelli, but I don't listen to much Jordan Peterson.
Oh yeah, there was a huge debate with Jordan Peterson and the Bitcoin maximalists. Let's say that about like Peterson is very not happy how the public conversation is turning out on Twitter, and he sees the root of all evil, the pseudonymous accounts, right? He's calling them anonymous, but this actually means pseudonymous. He just probably doesn't know the difference. It doesn't matter. So the pseudonymous Twitter accounts, because um, because he's claiming, and feel free to pitchfork me, but I think this is like trivially true what he's claiming, that that people who are using pseudonymous accounts have narcissistic, Machiavellian and tendencies, right? Like anonymity doesn't make them a better person, rather it makes them a worse person because they don't um, don't take personal responsibility for whatever they are posting online. And obviously, like there are exceptions, right? Like if I would be anonymous or pseudonymous, I believe that would be understandable. Or Satoshi,
I mean,
it
is
was
your real name
pseudonymous.
Nopara?
Yes, no para. That's my real name. Yeah, but there are reasons to be anonymous or pseudonyms and speak that way. but it just makes perfect sense that this removes another level of responsibility from people, and often this brings out the worst from some people. So yeah, and there was a huge debate. Let's call it a debate, but shit throwing towards Peterson, because like, I mean, he's right in a sense, but still going after anonymous accounts um, is not is probably a slippery slope, right? Because if we just acknowledge this, that anonymous accounts have negative tendencies, then a stupid social warrior developer would say, all right, well, let's just create a social network without anonymous accounts, and then you get Facebook. So that's not great either. But I believe we should acknowledge that hey, anonymous mode of accounts often brings the worst out of people, but also we shouldn't, like, that doesn't mean that we should move to the direction of Facebook, since we are all building Twitter all together with Elon Musk, right?
Yeah, and there are legitimate use cases and situations where you don't want to face the consequences of revealing information with your real identity. Like when
Yeah.
you're a whistleblower. I'm pretty sure that Edward Snowden, if he had a choice, he would have revealed everything under a pseudonym. And by the way, can you say hello to my cat Salieri? He wants to be part of the show.
Hello. I didn't say him, her, say back hello.
No, he's not very sociable.
All right. Well, that's what vampires do, having cats.
Yeah, black and white cats. This one is actually called a tuxedo cat because it looks as if he's wearing a suit on top of his white fur.
All right. Didn't know that.
He's like a tiger. So I'm happy that he spends a lot of time outside and I don't have to deal with his energy spikes when he just wants to kill everything in his way.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's get back on track and talk about privacy. And something that I wanted to ask you concerns. So let's move to the future of Wasabi, right? And the future of Bitcoin privacy. When I first interviewed, no, it wasn't the first time, but when I interviewed you in November of 2019, when we were in Cluj in Transylvania, and we can have a territorial dispute there, but I did interview you there. And after the interview, you told me that you expect the privacy wars to start in Bitcoin, and it's only a matter of time. We never had those, at least not yet. And how do you see
You
the
think
future of
so?
Bitcoin, and how does Wasabi adapt to that future?
Are you sure about that? Can you can you make a case that it has already started?
Well, you do have people like Michael Saylor who are not fans of Bitcoin privacy. You do have quote unquote educators like Dan Held who tell you that adding privacy to Bitcoin is a bad idea because of accounting issues. I mean, it's not like zero knowledge proofs don't exist and haven't been used to prove stuff to verify, or that confidential transactions led to inflations in liquid or whatever. I mean, this is concern trolling at this point. I'm pretty sure, and this is my unpopular opinion, you don't have to share it with me, you don't have to agree, but I'm pretty sure that this concern trolling about privacy has more to do with the fact that some developers and some influencers were bought by big money coming from banks and institutions investing in Bitcoin, who have all the incentives for this to not become private.
So even though you singled out Dan Held and Michael Saylor there, I believe they are on our side. But the privacy war is not between ideas of Bitcoin people. It's not between Bitcoiners. The privacy war is between Bitcoiners and no coiners. And well, I would make a case for this has already been happening. Not only because what with Wasabi Wallet, what we hear about in when we try to like feel out the legal space, but you know, the Toronto Cash developer is in jail for half a year without any charges in the Netherlands. So there you go. He's the first casualty of the privacy wars.
Yeah, I think that my definition of privacy wars is similar with scaling wars, when we had a debate within the community whether or not it's a good idea to add another feature into the base layer. And this led to a fork, and this led to some people migrating to a different chain because they had a different ideological mindset. And I was expecting something similar to happen, but it did not. And maybe the existence of Wasabi and Join Market has prevented this from happening. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But it's still not perfect. And, we have to resort to all of these tricks to make sure that Bitcoin works as money. And it cannot be traced by all of these exchanges, which nowadays are tracing the funds that you're withdrawing several steps after you did withdraw the money from them, because they seem to want to know what you're doing with it, which is not normal. So that was my definition of privacy wars. Wars against entities that want to associate a name to every Bitcoin transaction. I mean, that has always been the case. It has been the case since Silk Road.
Yes, I do believe that includes it. The the exchange know your customer stuff, even the blacklisting on Wasabi Wallet. All the regulatory capture that is against privacy in some way or touches privacy in some way is included in the privacy wars, and I don't know how bad it can get, and I don't think anyone else knows. I mean, in one sense, we are living in a whole new world, right? Like this is the future where we live, but you know the although the future is here, it's not distributed equally. Therefore, there are people, dinosaurs, who are living in the past, and they have, big teeth and strong jaws. So that's you don't want to end up under them.
I agree with your point, but I guess we have different definitions of what privacy wars are. And I do see a situation in the future where there might be a case where people want to add more privacy to the base layer, be it with extension blocks. And I paid some attention to that Mimblewimble extension block implementation on Litecoin, which seems to work pretty well. I'm pretty sure that at one point someone maybe in a couple of years will propose that for Bitcoin. And there are some other interesting privacy tricks like the state chain stuff that works with Mercury Wallet. I mean, that's not contentious, doesn't require a hard fork. But still, I remember you told me in Riga the first time we met in person, I think. It was at the Baltic Honey Badger. You told me that Bitcoin needs confidential transactions in order for coin joins to be more effective.
Yes. Yes, and well, I don't think we're gonna get that. Not in the foreseeable future, at least. As far as I know, no one's working on them. So it's a problem, right? But but I also don't have any confidence of getting any improvements into core anymore. So okay, let's backtrack. What was I talking about there? Confidential transactions. Confidential transactions. What does that mean? It means the amounts in the transactions are unknown, only known to the receiver and the sender. That's it. That's confidential transactions. It doesn't break the links. It does nothing. It just masks the amounts. What does CoinJoin do? CoinJoin is the one that breaks the links. Actually, it doesn't break the links. It joins many links together. But anyway, so the point is that confidential transactions with bulletproofs, which is another cryptographic improvement, would in coin joins act in a way that if there are sufficient number of inputs and outputs in the transaction or participants in the transaction, then the extra used block space that's the result because of the confidential transaction cryptographic magic would be insignificant because there are so many people participating in one coin join transaction. So that's confidential transaction, and I don't even have to tell you why it's like mind-blowing improvement and that would fix all our problem right away. Unfortunately, it needs a soft fork, but maybe a hard fork, and as time is progressing, just the simplest change in Bitcoin core, you create a pull request and it takes years to get there, right? Like in Wasabi Wallet, we want Bitcoin core to do things better, but it takes a very long time and with a very, very good reason, right? Because like the entire world's financial system is running on Bitcoin, so you don't want developers to be able to mess around with the code, right? Like what kind of catastrophe that would result in, and did in the past, right? Even though it's so conservative, there were still really uncomfortable exploits and whatnot. So anyway, now in 2013, I'm not optimistic anymore about
2023, not 2013.
yeah, 2023. I'm not optimistic anymore about getting confidential transactions in Bitcoin. Now, but what I did not know or did not think about back in the day is that, well, we can actually create pretty cheap coin joins if we are very smart with the amounts there. We don't have to fully mask the amounts with cryptographic magic confidential transactions, but we can just organize the amounts in very clever ways. And and what this would result in, maybe it's like best case scenario, we have 3 times more cost overhead of using Bitcoin completely privately, then we would have of not using Bitcoin completely privately. And this technology is already here, and that's called Wasabi Wallet 2.0. So we already did that. Of course, it's still not as cost efficient as it could be. So okay, let me give you some rough numbers. You use Bitcoin normally, right? No coin join, no nothing. In that case, it's going to cost you, let's say, 1 unit. With Wasabi Wallet 1.0, the normal, whatever you want to do with your Bitcoins, instead of 1 unit, it would have cost you 100 times more expensive. Okay, so that was Wasabi Wallet 1.0. Now with Wasabi Wallet 2.0, it only costs you 10 times more expensive. So there is an order of magnitude improvement there. But what I'm claiming here is that we can probably still go back to only be around 3 times more expensive than a normal Bitcoin transaction. So that's pretty much the limits of this coin join technology. That's what I wanna show you or tell you. And with confidential transactions, if we would have it, then it would also be 1 unit, close to 1 unit. So that would be really cool, but it's not happening, right? Because of obvious reasons. Bitcoin Core must be conservative. So what am I going with it? How bad is it that using Bitcoin anonymously is 3 times more expensive in the future? It's 3 times more expensive. Well, I'm not sure if it's that terribly bad. If we consider that most of the traffic will have to move to the Lightning Network, right? Like, how do you scale a blockchain? You don't. Blockchains don't scale, obviously. Therefore, most of the traffic will have to move away from Bitcoin blockchain. Therefore, the only things those will happen on the Bitcoin blockchain are the large transactions. The whales will be transacting on the Bitcoin blockchain. The whale people, the institutions, the companies with very large amounts, because you pay after bytes used on the blockchain and not after amounts spent on the blockchain. Therefore, if you have 1 million Bitcoin, then you pay the exact same fee if you want to spend that. If you would pay only just $5 of Bitcoin, right? Like you have to pay the same fee. Okay, so we got that. And I think we could move the entire of this ecosystem into coin joins, and initially as well the Lightning channel opening and closing transactions. Now, let's not speculate too much on how Lightning will be or will not be, because if we would do, then we would have to recognize that even Lightning is not able to really satisfy the volume requirements of the entire world. So there are still unsolvable problems there, but the point is that, hey, it's actually quite possible that the transactions, those will happen on the blockchain, will happen anonymously, and hopefully other anonymous Lightning layers in the future. Hopefully, right? It's not ready yet. It's not even figured out yet how, but hopefully we will get other second layer anonymous solutions, and we will have a payment network that's instant and anonymous and cost efficient. And well, only that's when Bitcoin will be ready for the entire world. Until then, we have to work a lot. I mean, you can just expect the price to go up for no reason. We have to build this payment network out first. We have to build an ideal money, a good money in economic terms. That's my overall vision.
Yeah, I have this theory that pretty much every altcoin or shitcoin is basically the Bitcoin experimentation layer. And that's for newbies to get onboarded, try some stuff, learn how to use the wallet. They can lose coins, they can get scammed so that it doesn't happen on Bitcoin. But in the end, not only that the users are going to end up on Bitcoin at some point, but the best of use cases, which are actually interesting and get market demand over a number of years, are going to be added into Bitcoin layers. And that's why I guess we have stuff like RGB, Taro on top of Lightning. And that those are not successful yet. Even Rootstock, RSK, which is a side chain, those are not successful yet specifically because the experimentation is still ongoing. So I see a future where all of these people and all of these use cases are going to converge to the most secure network, and we have to build to accommodate for that to happen.
So that's my guess as well, but I wouldn't argue with security here. I would argue with adoption instead. Like this thing is in existence and a lot of infrastructure is on it, and it seems this is the sweet spot that it achieves so much adoption and infrastructure that it's really hard to get rid of Bitcoin, just like the internet, let's say. You know, TCP/IP, IPv4, IPv6. How long we are trying to move on to IPv6, and it's not happening. We're just finding ways how to hack around the issues of TCP/IP of IPv4. So that's very much how networks work. But but we shouldn't forget that this is not a rule. This is just my best thinking or many people's best thinking. There could be a future where shitcoin X is going to be the future of currencies. It's possible, but like I I have consciousness that can only focus on one thing, and when I see if the price of shitcoin X is overdoing Bitcoin, that's when I'm like, okay, let's consider moving to that other shitcoin. I don't get emotional about technologies, right? Like, I really hope it's not gonna be Ethereum, like because fuck them. But if it's gonna be Ethereum, then you know, like, hey, that's probably where I can contribute the most to the world. So I probably gonna switch to that. It's Lucas, the most senior developer in Wasabi Wallet, saying always that, oh, I'm not in love with my code. He's not in love with his code, and it really annoyed me because I believe that you have to be in love with your code. But now after 5 years of working with him, I starting to understand that it's actually better to not get in love with the technology because because love can only hurt you.
Oh no, so the takeaway from all of this story is that you should not fall in love with anything or anyone because it's gonna hurt. And
Yes, that's
just go
exactly.
for the best option, I guess. That's the other takeaway. Go for the number one that you can get, the top choice, which
You
happens
know,
to be Bitcoin right now.
yeah.
I think the only other altcoin that I considered to be a contender was Grin when it launched. And I remember it was quite a fiasco. There were people bidding on exchanges. They pumped the price very high. But then they figure out that the inflation rate is insane. And you get basically one coin mined every second. And it's like every minute you get 60 new coins. the inflation was huge. And the point of it is not to become a store of value ever, it's just to transact privately.
I wanted to get into that bit as well, but I couldn't find the right time for that. Yeah. So, so why was green interesting? It's because it was the first Mimblewimble coin, right? And Mimblewimble was like privacy-ish thingy, but mostly chain efficiency, actually. Not that much of privacy. But they also had some privacy things. I think even Dandelion and confidential. They put a bunch of technologies into their protocol. And was interesting. And I would assume it's still around, no? I mean, it should be, right?
Which one?
Green.
Oh yeah, it's still around. It's still being developed, and it was added to Litecoin last year as
Oh,
an
what does
extension
that
block.
mean?
It's pretty cool because you can send from the main chain to the extension block to basically peg in, and then you have confidential transactions on the Mimblewimble layer, and then you can come back to the original chain. It's kind of like a side chain, except that extension blocks are being mined by the same miners as the main chain.
All right.
I
All
played with
right.
that. It's interesting. I mentioned earlier that I expect people to bring that to as a proposal to bring it to Bitcoin at some point if it proves to work for a number of years and it doesn't cause any issues with inflation or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I mean, people used to present Litecoin as silver or whatever, and it was kind of dumb. And it never really made sense because it was a carbon copy of Bitcoin with nothing special except for a different hashing algorithm. And
It didn't work out the way they wanted to.
at least now they started to run their own experiment with something different. I guess now it's more interesting than it was before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to arbitrage on the fact when they were gonna implement SegWit, right? They were gonna do it before Bitcoin, and I don't know what happened there, but there was I noticed some insider trading activity there because yeah, never mind. It's my old shitcoiner stories. I can't even get them right. Yeah. So you know, just something to throw in there that these old shitcoiner stories that we were messing around with all kinds of exchanges like Cryptsy, Mintpal, Poloniex, half of them run away with your money, and all kinds of things were happening with your money. Now, and sometimes you're talking about these things in public, right? Which you definitely shouldn't do. Um, Now, there is other thing that came to my mind just recently is the CoinJoin history. Actually, it took me quite a while, but I was just parsing the Bitcoin talk messages, and I realized that hey, CoinJoins were invented like way before Gregory Maxwell came up with it in 2013 with at least four different people. One of them is Manny Rosenfeld, Hashcoin. Anyway, so there were a lot more accounts of CoinJoins on Bitcoin talk, but no one bothered to take a look at it. Now, recently, a software that is parsing huge amount of information has basically conquered the internet, and that's called ChatGPT. So, what does that mean? That means I can just, well, not now, because ChatGPT is not open source, and there is a lot of limitations and everything. But it's not a far cry to say that in the future I will tell the AI, hey AI, look at this website, and then I will ask the AI that, hey AI, who invented CoinJoins, and he's going to be even come up with a better answer than what I was able to come up with, right? So what does that mean? Now imagine this power is not in the hands of historians only, but also in the hands of tax authorities. Now, what would that result in? They ask the question, what's going on with this person? ChatGPT already has everything parsed. And then they tell that, well, he was saying that here, that he was doing these things in Poloniex and stuff like that. And I don't know. That's privacy wars, right? so so yeah, so actually no, I didn't even think about this. AI has huge privacy implications, this kind of word processing AI, because like we say a lot of shit on the internet, but it's really hard to process, like to search for it. Like I very often searching for whatever Gregory Maxwell is saying, because Gregory Maxwell is like so smart that every word from him is giving me an aha moment about Bitcoin, right? And I'm messing around with Reddit search and whatever, but wow, I didn't even think AI will make it so easy to spy on other people based on their online activity. I might even just start deleting all the things that I said online. I'm getting terrified, that's not good.
Well, I guess that's why ChatGPT is limited up to 2021 in terms of the kind of information that it can access. And I'm pretty sure that it doesn't have access to the troll box from Poloniex, at least not yet. And I hope that by the time it can get access to that, the troll box is going to be deleted so nobody knows what people said about their trades back in 2014 or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, well. So holy shit. I mean, I didn't even think about that. There's huge privacy implications, right? Usually I'm talking about the Google of Bitcoin explorers, of blockchain analysis, the Google of blockchain analysis. You just write a name like Vlad Dracula, and then you can see everything, every Bitcoin trade that you did in the past. But this is so much worse. This is so much more invasive.
My camera died, don't mind it.
All right, so let me just finish it. This is so much more invasive because now you can have a conversation with an AI chat person who just tells you everything about person that you would ever want to know. Like, wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's scary, right? Knowing that this artificial intelligence can crawl the entire internet to search for information. But this can also be
Uh-huh.
biased, right? Because there's so much out there. And I guess it can make a summary. And it can make that
Don't
summary
trust,
based
verify.
on human input, right? So you
Yeah.
you ask it what kind of information you want it to give you, and most likely it will find it. And once again, it's about human framing. You can get all the information, but there is no context. It makes no sense. People can know everything about you, they can get all the data, but they need to build narratives from it to frame you as that kind of person. And to frame you as that kind of person, they only need a limited set of information. And what I mean is that if someone wants to prove that you are a terrible person and you treat other people like they're pieces of crap or whatever, they can just crawl some tweets of yours and demonstrate that at one point you told someone that they're morons or something like Shinobi does or some or whatever. And yeah, that's an easy way to frame
GPT
people.
write a story about Shinobi being an asshole based on his past message history. Use the worst things you can find.
I think the challenge with Shinobi is to find something actually wholesome or decent.
Yeah.
Like, was he ever nice to someone and supportive, being like, yes, I like this? I mean, publicly, not in private.
Mm. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the future of Wasabi. Right now, I'm in the middle of changing my battery on the camera and getting back with the image. What's next for Wasabi? What's being developed? What do you hope that is going to get added in the next couple of years or maybe in 10 years before you buy Microsoft?
Oh, yes. That's the end goal here, buying Microsoft. But let me pick up. So I came out with Hidden Wallet, joined with Matthew Highwood, then Wasabi Wallet 1.0, which enabled privacy and which enabled privacy without the risk of losing funds, and then user experience for light wallet users, and then 2.0 improved upon the privacy, the cost aspect, and the user experience of it. So what now? Where are we here? Uh, First of all, we are only talking about a desktop application in English language. So that's those are big limitations. Now, let's see. In the very far future, what we want to do is to build a private layer with the Lightning Network on top of Wasabi Wallet, probably pay to endpoint. Where what does pay to endpoint mean? Pay to endpoint mean you have peer-to-peer communication between two people, and maybe no STR stuff is just gonna be the way to do it. I don't know. No, but the point is that if you have peer-to-peer communication, then the user experience of a Bitcoin wallet would be in a way that I wanna send you money, blood, and I don't have to know if I'm sending it on chain or I'm sending it through the Lightning Network, and it's gonna be anonymous, right? Like now, that's the shit here. In fact, let me even go further in the future. I wanna. This is what I wanna do with Wasabi Wallet. Okay, listen, Vlad. Here is 10 Satoshi, and
Okay.
that's it. I just think about it. I just think 10 Satoshi to you, and it happened instantly, anonymously, and cost efficiently. And the best user experience, all I had to do just thinking. Now, this is the goal. This is the ultimate user experience that my imagination can come up with. So that's where I wanna go with. All right. So this is how far I wanna go. All right. So this is the far future when Neuralink is a thing and
Yeah, so
stuff like
Elon Musk, if you're listening to this, contact Nopara.
that.
He has an idea
Invest.
about how to send money anonymously. Sound money, not that crap that you're promoting with Dogecoin. Get over it. It's just a phase. You're gonna forget about it once you figure out how Bitcoin works.
It's well said. Well said. So this is the far future, the moonshot, right? Uh, since we are at Elon, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you will be among the stars. Anyhow, the far future is what I just talked about the second layer Lightning Network, privacy-oriented Lightning Network, pay to endpoint, so the user experience is properly fixed. The user doesn't have to know if it's Lightning Network or on-chain or whatever we'll have in the future. So that's the far future. Okay, now the medium future. What we are working on right now is the scaling aspect of it. So far, Wasabi was we were building Wasabi vertically on top of, put things on top of it and make things better. But at one point, the tower that we built is very thin, right? Like we have to make it wider, because therefore, like putting more and more innovation on top of each other we are encountering diminishing returns here. So now we are gonna start scaling our software out to more and more people, and this is the medium term future that we are aiming at. And what does this include? What does this mean? Well, right now Wasabi is a desktop application. That's not okay. Many people are using mobile and don't even have a desktop, so we need a mobile wallet, right? iOS and Android currently. Wasabi is in English language, and guess what? Not everyone speaks English in the world, so we need localizations to multiple languages. All right. So Wasabi, there is also a problem with Wasabi that it is a memory wallet, and you really shouldn't keep your money in memory of your computer. You should be probably holding it in a hardware wallet. That's just safer. And although Wasabi have hardware wallet integrations currently, those hardware wallets cannot coin join. And coin join is obviously the staple of Wasabi wallet, because like, what are you gonna do using Bitcoin non-anonymously? The stupid idea that is. And finally, let's not only bet on Wasabi wallet, but let's also bet on the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. Now we are at a point where we can't really imagine improving the protocol, like replacing the entire protocol. So that means we are ready to build our software into different applications. So that's the integrations. All right. What do we have? Mobile wallet, localizations, hardware wallet, coin joins, and integrations. Currently, the only thing we are doing is the integrations, because there is like a huge demand for coin join services. And currently, BTC Pay, which by the way, just in a few weeks, Max told me, so I don't know how true it is, but BTC Pay is supposed to announce or release its first version in a week. We'll see if it will be like that. Trezor is another company that's working on Wasabi Wallet integration for a very, very long time. So that two integrations, what we are working on right now, and I think right after Trezor released its integration, we're gonna jump onto the hardware wallet coin joins, because that's the security related issue, right? Like You shouldn't really bring hard. You shouldn't really um, have your private keys in memory. It should probably be in hardware wallets. So hardware wallet coin joins, but there is like an unwritten agreement between Trezor and us that we don't really push it. Like let them come up with it first. So probably what we are gonna do after the Trezor integration is really is to move on to the hardware wallet coin joins, and then localizations to different languages or mobile will be the next one. I don't know, but that's those are the medium term plans. All right, so that's medium term. Long term is more innovation, making the tower larger, putting more and more innovation, things on top of each other, right? And in the very long term is going to be Bitcoin sending you like that, right? Like magic. Neuralink. Yeah.
Brain wallet, but done the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we are all going to be cyborgs, right? I
Well,
mean,
I hope not, honestly, but who knows?
unless you want to be a slave to an AI, it's your choice.
I mean, I'm not sure if Robocop is happy about becoming a cyborg,
Yeah,
but he had
well,
no choice.
he had no choice. Yeah.
So I actually inserted a second battery in my camera and it's also empty, so I have to speak like this. One last question, Adam. Actually, Nopara, sorry. Your name is actually Nopara legally and officially and online. I wanted to
Yes.
ask you about pay to endpoint because you mentioned it, and at the time it was in a different context when you mentioned it today. But 3 years ago, when I interviewed you, you also spoke a bit about pay to endpoint, and it was supposed to be this really smart trick to beat blockchain analysis. Is there any
Mhm.
developments in it at the moment? Because it has been like this very vague but smart idea, which was presented in 2020, but there doesn't seem to be any developments in regards to it.
Mhm. Well, I mean, the pay join line of work is all pay to endpoint work as well. It's just I think their vision, or many of the people who are working on these things have a much smaller vision than what I have. So let me just start from the beginning. In 2020, I believe, or even sooner, maybe 2019, Blockstream organized a CoinJoin workshop where they invited the the people who created the papers, the softwares, all the Bitcoin privacy work, whoever they could get the hold of, like Adam Gibson and Chris Bercher from Join Market, Tim Ruffing, who there were more and more people. The point is that in that workshop, there was nothing to do, right? Like Blockstream didn't tell us what to do. We just found something. Hey, can we come up with something interesting? And we did. And and that's where my pay to endpoint blog post was written. Now, I was talking about a system that's similar to what Satoshi did in the beginning, that you were able to pay to IP addresses. But we don't want to pay to IP addresses. That's not very private. So let's just call it an endpoint, because then we can use, let's say, Tor Onion endpoints, right? So pay to endpoint and not pay to IP as it was back in the old days. Now, if your computer and my computer, or my brain and your brain, has an encrypted peer-to-peer connection with each other, then we can communicate about what kind of transactions we want to send to each other. That is pay to endpoint to me. The peer-to-peer connection, secure connection between two parties who are transacting. Now, this was watered down by Blockstream. I mean, I don't think they wanted to water it down. It just actually Matthew Ivy wrote the first article, who was working with me on Hidden Wallet back in the day. Anyway, so he wrote the first article about how this could be implemented in a way that, how merchant versus user. So it was a merchant-user relationship and not a pay-to-endpoint relationship, only just a very small, specific set of use cases of Bitcoin, which includes a merchant and a user, and then the user sends to the merchant, and that's they called pay join. And there were a couple of iterations. Nicola Doria talked about it before. He also created a Bitcoin improvement proposal, Basta Pay. Anyway, there were a couple of iterations on this pay join thing, but these were all operating with the idea of there is a Bitcoin URL that has a pay join addition to it, and then it's a merchant user relationship. Now, this is cool. I mean, we implemented it into Wasabi, and I actually just sent a pay join like a week ago. That was a real world transaction, right? And I felt really cool, but that's not the power of pay to endpoint. The power of pay to endpoint is having a peer-to-peer communication between the sender and the receiver, and then I can send the money to someone, to you, in a way that I don't have to know if I'm sending an on-chain transaction, a coin join transaction, or a Lightning transaction, or let's say a Litecoin transaction, or a sidechain transaction, or anything goes. I don't have to know as a user. But the point is that for that, I need a peer-to-peer communication with you. Now, this is awesome. And just recently, in the days lately, Cooks and so a couple of people were talking about how we can do this with Nostra protocol.
Noster, yeah. So that's
Nostra.
Andrew Cooks from BTC Pay. And I
Yeah.
think the other one must be Kale.
Yes. And now, wait, no, Dan Gold was who created also and sent to the Bitcoin mailing list. Anyway, the point here is that now recently this pay to endpoint, and they might not even call it this way, right? Because they only I insist that, hey, this is pay to endpoint, the endpoint stuff, the thing that can actually solve a bunch of things. But many people just, hey, pay to endpoint and pay join is the same and whatever, just not care about that. But I would say let's care about that, because pay join is awesome, but pay to endpoint, the technology behind it, but pay to endpoint is the thing that can actually change the user experience here. Now, where am I going with this? So, oh yes. So why am I still not that enthusiastic today and starting to work on it and stuff like that? Because there is a huge limitation. And the limitation is that both parties has to be online. In a merchant-user relationship, user-merchant relationship, it's okay. The merchant is always online. But in a user-user relationship, it's not actually the case. We are living in an asynchronous world, not in a synchronous one. So that's a big problem. But this is what I wanna get here, is that the reason why I'm not actually like diving into this stuff right now is because it seems that, hey, if this is the limitation that everyone has to be online at the time of the transaction, then all we have to do is to wait, because in the future everyone will be online all the time. So let's just have some patience, and when the time comes, that's when pay to endpoint will shine. But that's not today.
I get your point. And I think that pay to endpoint in its purest form also requires a full node from both parties. Because the endpoint is the node, right?
We don't know, right? Like we don't know. There could be 100 different ways to implement it, and I'm sure one protocol will succeed. It could be with the Nostr thing. It could be through Onions protocol. It could be completely custom-made peer-to-peer communication. Anything can be, right? The later we are in the future, the more research papers are written by cryptographers. So the better we will be able to build this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so right now it's only Blockstream and Wasabi who are working on this.
I mean, we are not working on this. We worked on PayJoin. PayJoin is the thing where I send you money and you also put inputs into the transaction. So not only me, but you as well. That's what that's what the entire Bitcoin ecosystem worked on, and not just Blockstream. It was Blockstream, I think Join Market, Wasabi, BTC Pay, right? BTC Pay was the main driver, the Basta Pay guys, and I'm pretty sure there are some wallets like Blue Wallet or some things that did implement this kind of things. So there are numbers, but that's PayJoin, right? An exciting, but I don't really know where to put PayJoin actually. So I'm not sure. I mean, this PayJoin certainly confuses things, but like how much? I don't know. There can be still heuristics. I mean, this is like so. Yeah, never mind. I'm not sure about PayJoin myself. So yeah.
Okay, I promised that would be the last question, but actually, I have this one. You have been standing behind a bar for 2 hours, and I have to ask you, what's your favorite drink from the ones behind you? And also, how can people follow you on the Wasabi project if they want to keep up with what's new?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I don't drink alcohol, so I mean, not like I don't drink ever, but I don't know, things just get more and more there, and you get gifts, and I'm not drinking the gifts, so they just start to accumulate. Um, let just this might be a good ending here, because um, I mentioned about my open source experience that it is rewiring your brain as you're contributing to projects and so resolving issues, get shit done. It's rewiring your brain and you become addicted to it. Now, I'm pretty sure at one point in my 20s, in my early 20s, probably was addicted to alcohol. I never really thought about it this way, but I pretty much drink every day. And the thing that changed me is probably the contribution of open source software, right? Like I replaced my one addiction of alcohol with the addiction of software development and writing code and resolving GitHub issues. So that's how software development can rewire your brain. Um, that's about alcohol. Where can people reach me? Um, I can be messaged. My DMs are open on Twitter, Nopara73. I'm uh, I'm slow to reply, but I do reply. Um, and and of course, check out wasabiwallet.io. It's gonna be in the description of the video. I bet.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's it.
this was super inspirational, Nopara. From where you started and where you're at right now, and still you have great goals to make Bitcoin even more private and fungible. I very much appreciate your efforts. I'm a big fan of your work. And I very much look forward to Wasabi 3.0 if that ever comes, unless you establish that this is the final form and you just build stuff horizontally. But yeah, so much stuff to make you feel excited about Bitcoin in a time when everything seems so depressing on Twitter with people fighting about colored coins, essentially. So thank you for this. It really helped me remember why I'm still here and why I love this space. And I hope this was also useful for you and you found out something new. Maybe we can do some transactions with PayJoin or whatever after we end this interview.
Well, thank you, Rod. I'm happy that I did not end up on a stick like many of your guests before. Vlad Dracula.
Oh, no. I don't impale my guests. I only impale invaders.
Good. All right. Well, have a good day. Bye bye.
Are you concerned that your friends, neighbors, or KYC exchange might know how much Bitcoin you own? It is time to take your financial privacy seriously with Wasabi Wallet, a free and open source wallet solution which makes use of mega coin joins to mix your coins with those of hundreds of other strangers. Thanks to the groundbreaking Wasabi engine, your coins get divided in smaller, untraceable units, which grant you great anonymity for both hodling and spending. Download Wasabi Wallet 2.0 today at wasabiwallet.io and take advantage of the mega coin joins. It's free and it's open source, so don't trust, verify. CryptoSteel are innovators in Bitcoin cold storage. Back in 2013, they launched the CryptoSteel cassette, which made it easy to back up your seed phrase, passphrase, or any other form of private key on the sturdy metal which resists water, fire, and earthquakes. Today, CryptoSteel offers the Motherload, an all-in-one box which endows you with everything you need to become financially sovereign. Inside of the Motherload, you get a CryptoSteel capsule and a hardware wallet of your choice. All CryptoSteel products are engineered and manufactured in Poland. Order your CryptoSteel metal backup system today on cryptosteel.com and use promo code BTCTKVR at checkout for a 10% discount on your first order. CryptoSteel, secure your wallet seed phrase. Are you a writer, photographer, musician, or video creator who's trying to generate some revenue? Bumby is the Bitcoin way to monetize your content. It's more censorship resistant than any other platform of its kind, with a low and flat one-time fee of 10%. Bumby is as easy to use as any social media mobile application. Sign up today at Bumby.com and subscribe for free to the Bitcoin Takeover account to get access to some time-exclusive content. If you are monetizing your creativity, why not get paid in Bitcoin for it? Bumby.com, the Bitcoin way to monetize your content. Shopping with your Bitcoin on the internet is easy. Shop&Bit is Europe's biggest Bitcoin store with over 800,000 products, ranging from Bitcoin books, toothpaste, mobile phones, computers, and watches. This month, I bought a Nintendo Game & Watch console with the classic Legend of Zelda, and it arrived in only 5 working days. And if you can't find what you're looking for, Shop&Bit has got you covered. Their concierge service will get you anything and ship it worldwide. Additionally, they also have a travel hacking service that can get you the best deals on all things travel, flights, hotels, and more, for business and for vacations. Bitcoin Takeover listeners get a nice discount, of course. Use code BTCTKVR on your first order for a one-time €5 discount. For more details, go to shopinbit.com. Shop&Bit, Europe's biggest Bitcoin store.